Hello, folks, and welcome back to Miss Pandaria Classic. Let us continue. Now I've done a fair bit of auctions and stuff since we've last talked. I made back money. Let us continue. At least, I can't remember how much I've done since we last played, how much I've actually made. I've literally just logged off, but let me just make sure no one's actually bought something. Oh, living steel sold. Nice. Chat redemption spalders. Isn't that a paladin set? Hmm. Eh. Oh, maybe it's the Burning Crusade reskin. Yes. That wouldn't be class restricted. Hmm. I suppose I could get up to the Deathwing head through over here. But it's... Yeah, it's very much built as a game piece rather than a world piece. Again, that conversation. Building places to be a fleshed out world versus building places to be a video game piece, set piece, or, just place for people to quest through and move on.
There is no
Like look at Doom, the Doom one. Well, it's meant to be a military base. It's no, maybe I can't really use that as an example. It's been so long since I played it. I'm not sure I'll do it justice. But from what I remember, you don't see any of the facilities that would be there in an actual. Well, actually, maybe it wasn't meant to be military. It was meant to be a research base. Regardless, whatever sort of base it was, you don't really see the facilities that would be there. You don't go find any barracks. You don't find, you know, the cafeteria. You don't find. It's just corridor upon corridor upon corridor, random lifts, random, you know, environmental changes for you to fight through. And that's fine. But it's built as a game rather than a fleshed out world. You know, so randomly having Deathwing's piece over there makes sense from like oh, here's the little kata quarter for players. But given who Deathwing was, the societal threat, well, the existential threat that he was, you'd think they would want to show it off to the people more that you know the terror is dead. The terror that destroyed the park, killed your loved ones, has fallen. He will not threaten you again. Okay, I'm still not learning anything from the Imperial Silk. Are we sure I can learn anything from it? Like, if this is really the only way for me to level up my goddamn tail ring, I'm really not a fan. Like, there is other stuff I can learn over here, but I'm not sure if I can learn the other stuff off it. So... Like, that's the only research thing. Yeah, none of these do research. Only that does. Actually, when I was doing that, I did get research, I think at one point. I suddenly unlocked a ton of spell threads. And that was it. I haven't unlocked anything since. Oh, we got an achievement. Let me grab my keyboard. I missed an old add-on I had that would auto-grats people. It was handy. Ooh, a ruby shard. Nice.
Please browse my wares.
We'll keep going with white turnips for the time being. Since I can't do anything else, I may as well.
I can't cast that yet. That spell isn't ready.
I need a one.
That spell isn't ready. I can't cast that.
I was trying to call down both, but it wouldn't let me for one reason or another. I accidentally potioned.
That's still retro. I can't drink anymore yet.
Yes.
I can't cast that.
The misclicking is happening more. You have to wait till combat's over to potion again. Can't remember if that was the same in Classic or what. It could have been just, you know, potion and then cool down straight off. But there may have been a delay. Oh, I can't remember if it was like that in Classic. And I can't remember if it's like that in SOD, or was there just a cooldown in combat you have to worry about? There was like a 2-minute cooldown on using a potion again. Or did you actually have to wait for combat to end to use a potion again? So what's the flight pad like if you don't have here unlocked? Guess you just go around. God, I don't know if it made sense there. Yeah, mind entirely blank there. Entirely forgot what I was getting at. The heat is bloody getting to me here. Also kind of tired. The way I was reading the wiki and they were talking about the like war of these guys, these Yongle, they set up temporary camps and then they like move around, and this is how they live for thousands of years. Just these constant temporary camps and moving around. But given how small this zone is, obviously that's not exactly feasible. So again, Blizzard scaling kind of makes it hard to get an actual sense of scope of the place because there really isn't place like okay, you're gonna move your tents 5 steps to the right. Oh, well done. You really are nomads, aren't you? Just notice my head moving. So like, oh yeah, you really are nomads. You're moving your tent 5 steps to the right every other week. Going around in a full circle eventually. It's real nomadic behavior right there. So it's like I get that they can't do like a one-to-one scale, but at the same time, I think they are doing such a small representation of it. It's playing against it. So it's a tough situation because I'm not sure what will be the correct answer. Like if they were to do more closer to one-to-one, even if it wasn't one-to-one, then it would just end up being like 3 zones in expansion, which could actually work in some sense. Um, you know, basically, the larger each zone has to be, the more work has to be done on each zone, and so the less zones you can get, the less stories that can be told. So there is a heavy trade-off there. I'm just wondering if they're are they are they getting the ratios right? You know, could they do more and it not be It's just like, look at this place. There's no real place for them to be moving around like that. Because they're meant to be moving around and harvesting the oil. And as long as the oil is functioning as oil we know, there isn't that much space for all these fire camps. Especially not if the Mantid have their encampments around the place and whatnot. So this is too small for the war that was set out. So like the actual scale, it would have. Huh. The actual scale of the place must be much larger than what we see. But what we see in the game really doesn't match up with it. You know? Fuck, I'm tired. Maybe I should give up on this. I think my point made sense. Basically, these Yongo are meant to be. The fire camps are temporary encampments. They set up here, harvest the oil, they move on to the next place and harvest oil there. But this has been their way of life for thousands of years. They've lived in stasis for this long. So they would easily have cleared this whole place in those thousands of years. You know? All these Yongle just camped out here for all that time since the Sundering. They're definitely going to have cleared out this place in all that time. So I think, you know, the sense of scale of this place doesn't match with the lore that we see. Um, this area seems to be much larger than what we actually get in the game. Much larger. I'm starting to wonder if each zone isn't actually the size of, the playable Pandaria. Suddenly, some things will make more sense then. And actually, like, another point, I was talking about this in SOD, though it may not be available as of time of this thing's release. Maybe, maybe not. So, if I go up close, here. Okay. In SOD, I get a quest over here, up on the hill. There was someone chained up by a tent or something. They were dead, tent was trashed. And then Scarlet attacks me. Off the Scarlet, I get a note that this new captive needs to get to Tyr's hand. No, they can't kill it, and to take the back roads and be stealthy. But what back roads are there? Now, this is the Kata map, but the roads haven't really changed. Not to my recollection. The roads here are about the same. What? There, I think in Kata, pre-Kata, there was a connecting path here. Like, there may be a slight change to roads, but still, what back road are they talking about? You're here. What back roads are available to you? There's, if you're going from here, stealing some from the Undercity, and you're camped out here, what back roads are you talking about? There's one way from here, well, there's one way from the Western Playgrounds into the east, over to Tyr's Hand, and the Scarlet Enclave. Huh, that's cool. Didn't know that. Um, I, when I was watching my aunt play WoW before, she was on her Draenei Hunter, I believe, and she was going to Azure Mist. When she got on the boat, it actually ended up dropping her off in Outland. Down here. Just dropped her off down here. She just popped a Hearthstone and ported out. But yeah, dropped her down there. Huh. Jar of Ashes. It'd be interesting to go see that. Some of these notes are just, I know they just seem kind of random. But some of them are actually interesting trivia. But yeah. Anyway, to continue what I was saying, like I was saying that the zone I'm currently in is too small for what they talk about in the lore. In that note in SOD, they talk about take the back streets. So you're here, and you're to get over to Tyr's Hand. How are you going to do it? Well, there's two land routes to do so that we know of as players. There's this way right past the Undercity, And then there's this way right through the bulwark. Now, in SOD, I ran through the bulwark, and it wasn't that built up. I was actually able to go straight down the path without being molested by the guards. But I imagine the Scarlet Caravan, rather than a lone player, would attract more attention. So you go this way. Now, this version of the map is, like, the path here is the same. But it's like Forsaken High Command, Rear Guard, you know, it's the Forsaken Front. This is all new. We can ignore that. So there's one route straight down, and then you go over this way. Now, maybe, you know, they're nervous about that. I want to be stealthy. So they sail across the Fenris Isle Lake here. And so they land over here. There is two Scarlet members here. It's the wife of the torturer and her father. So, you know, there are some Scarlets here. Could land here and, you know, go over here and up into the Western Playgrounds, right by an Alliance base. And even then, you have to go through Anderhall, which is held by the Scourge at the time, and then over here to this place. Maybe they could try sailing across over here. But there's nowhere really to dock and get off, you know? So they talk about using the back streets. They talk about stuff that does not exist. So I'm not sure if it's a case of what we see as players not matching up with the world, or is it a case of writers saying stuff without actually knowing what they're, you know, knowing the place. They're just writing down whatever and moving on. They're not checking it. They're not confirming that this is actually a thing. So it's either a case of us not seeing what's actually the case, or writers just making something up and moving on. Without confirming, without, you know, like, oh, yeah, this would be a sensible thing to write. Yeah, it's a sensible thing. Take the back streets. It would be, you know, attract less attention. If there was any. There's no back streets here. It's nothing but, you know, single or, you know, straight roads. So, yeah. Gotta be honest with you, folks. I am getting close to just being done with WoW for a time. I was enjoying SOD, and I did like playing with the guild. But honestly, I know I'm just getting kind of burnt out on WoW. Because I'm like hyper fixating on the mood. This is last one of Paladin. Help us drive them back. I only got credited for one of them. Finally. I know. I'm just kind of like fixating on the writing issues or the like world building issues, you know. And I'm having great difficulty taking my mind off it. And like I can understand why they make some of the decisions, like it's for pragmatic reasons or otherwise. But that's not always the case. Sometimes it's just because they're questionable writers, honestly. Or they're just not thinking things through. I recently did a video out, the biggest plot hole in StarCraft, where Blizzard decided that Kerrigan really needed ability to mind control people, basically everyone in the setting, beyond the RAM. Yeah, she uses it once, then never uses it again. So as powerful as you may feel Kerrigan is in Harder Swarm, apparently she can solo the campaign by herself. Actual canon Kerrigan without the writers forgetting what she can do, is so much more powerful. As in, she stays in Char and proceeds to dominate everyone against her from there. Oh, Manx flies to Char, dives into a spawning pool. Raynor dives into the spawning pool. Zeratul dives into the spawning pool. Dead. So, yeah. Because they just gave her like a... There's a character called... I actually forgot her name. She's the Dark Temple Matriarch. She's meant to be one of the most powerful people in the sector, and Karrigan mind controls her from somewhere within the sector. So, like, how would someone like Raynor resist? How would someone like Manx resist? You know? Someone vastly weaker than her. I.e., they wouldn't. While there is psi shielding, it drives the person wearing them mad, and the any of them will be graded for Karrigan. So, Karrigan, by all rights, should be able to mind control anyone that turns up that isn't Duran. You know? It's... They made her too powerful, to the point her losing is a plot hole. So, Blizzard doesn't... Like, they clearly thought this was a cool idea, but they didn't think beyond that, you know? Maybe them never bringing it up again is them thinking beyond that. I have no idea. It's like, oh shit, we kind of messed up with that one. Fuck. And so they never bring it up again, because that's all they can do. But, Good. I see that you're capable. I hope to rely on your talents for what is to come. I'm not really sure how to take this. So, the story before was that Taranzu wasn't, adhering to his duty. So, like, the way I'm imagining the story goes for a Kunai Summit. Could you? There we go. So, you start down here, and you do the quests here. Maybe you go over here and help out the fishermen. And then you go over here and help your faction. You proceed up here doing the quests at the car wash, the quests with the Grummels, and you go down here. You help with these people. You go here to the temple. You pass the trial. You get the down here open. And the Taranzu storms off. He heads back to the monastery, where the... I thought that said leprechaun instead of leptospermum. It was leprechauns. He leaves here and storms back to the monastery, where the Shah has infested, and he gets afflicted by it. And so when we come along and help out a Winter's Blossom, he's already succumbed to it. We help out here, then we march up to the monastery, and where we fight one of the guards. We gather our friends, and we head in. We gather our friends and we go into the monastery. We free Taranzu of his control, and then we head down into Townlong steps, where we meet where Taranzu, now free of the Shah's control, is in the outpost. So basically, we start here, we do our faction quests, we eventually end up at the White Tiger Temple. Taranzu storms out and heads over here to the monastery. He gets corrupted, we do the quests here, we free him, and we head down to the steps. And then we meet him here. But the way he's talking is as if we didn't do the dungeon, which we really canonically didn't. So I'm not sure if it's an adaptive thing that acknowledges whether or not you do the dungeon. But it really, I think Blizzard would be better off for making the dungeons mandatory. Actually part of the leveling experience, like Final Fantasy XIV does, for a more cohesive experience. Because, Taranzu hasn't, adhered to his thing. And then we come down here straight off and Taranzu's here. It's kind of weird. Somehow I doubt if I went and did the quest, Taranzu would be responding any differently. Let's find out. This isn't gonna be quick, is it? You know what? What's more important is actually hitting fucking 90. Let's keep going. So yeah, maybe this is compensating for the fact that I never did that quest up there, or maybe this is just what he says regardless, as him just trying to ignore the fact that, you know, we saved his ass. He's just an ungrateful lout like that. Good, I can see that you're capable. Hope to rely on your talents for what is to come.
Stay focused.
There's much to be done.
Passions in check.
Now that we have had time to assess our enemy's weaknesses, it's time for us to deal the Yongo direct below. Go and confront Osul Sharphorn up the mesa to the west. Let them know that we're here. And that we're not scared of their
Do not
threats.
succumb to the darkness.
There is one thing that every army needs, and that is a supply line. The enemy camp to the west contains a large beast herd, which serves as Yongo's army's main source of food. Luckily for us, the yaks and mushroom beasts of this region are easily scared. Sneak in, give the beast a good slap, and watch the results. I remember hearing someone was, I was watching, years ago I used to listen to podcasts, and, on The Song of Ice and Fire. I could never quite get into the books. I remember sitting in the car trying to read them, and I'd read a few words, the mum would start talking, so I'd close the book, and I'd talk to her, and then she would finish talking, so I'd open the book again, I'd read a few words. I got to a bit about a guy tweaking his sister's nipples or something, and mum starts talking again, and I just put the book in the drawer. I think it ended when we had to bring the car in to the NCT. I just threw it in threw the book in the bag and brought the bag inside, and then Nero peed on it, so that was the the book gone. I think I lost my first copy of Berserk that way too. I have the anthology over there, so it's, you know, been replaced, but yeah. He's a dumbass, Nero. But, so yeah, I was never really able to get into A Song of Ice and Fire. It's why when I got to the next book, the Go Trick and Felix books, I just started reading them out loud. Since I'm already talking, Mum doesn't start trying to talk at me. Except when she starts getting too into the book and starts like responding to me. It's like, yeah, yeah. Oh. It's cute. But, oh, remember I was saying about my nan's husband? She was, he, you know, his older age, developed medical conditions. He had incontinency. It happens. And so he ended up wearing diapers, basically. And I was saying about him throwing one in the bin. Well, just like, it's a shitty diaper, he's just bare hand, open the bin, throwing it in, and then sitting down. He's even wiping his face and rubbing stuff, and all with the dirty fucking hand. Remember having to be in a car ride with him before. This was before then, but still. And him having to sniff each finger individually. The sound. Oh. It was not a good thing. But, yeah, so yeah, I never got into A Song of Ice and Fire. But I did enjoy listening to the podcasts. Radio Westeros was the primary one. There was another one I listened to, and I did enjoy it, but one of the hosts was really annoying. It's been a long time, but I remember her going on a spiel. Apparently Arya's swords trainer called her a boy. And it's like, I'm not a boy, I'm a girl, and whatnot. And one of the hosts here, I guess, like, he probably would call the boys girls. So it's, ribbing or, whatever. So since it's actually a girl this time, he said boy instead. That host argued that it was misogyny to call the boys a girl, as it's implying a girl is a bad thing to be. But him referring to a girl as a boy was also misogyny. The only possible conclusion I could derive was that she felt calling a girl a boy was degrading to the girl. Calling a boy a girl was degrading to girls. Yeah. Similarly, she argued that George R. R. Martin had to redeem himself for claiming that poison is a tool of craven and women. He actually had to redeem himself for it. So it's just like, I know there was just these random remarks, and it's just like, oh, you're so annoying. But yeah, it kind of turned me off the podcast because it was just like the only way I could take at least the Arya remark there was just like raging man hatred. So if it's misogyny and degrading to call boys girls, that making girl out to be a bad thing to be, but it's still misogyny to call a girl a boy. Isn't that implying that you think a boy is a bad thing to be? And it's actually degrading to her to make that remark? It just... Yeah. She was just very annoying. She made other ones, but I don't remember them at this point. I want to say there was like one other example, and I was just like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done. I could just feel my brain nodding because it was just fucking irritating. But there was anyway, on Radio Westeros, they got in different people who wrote essays on Song of Ice and Fire, making different arguments and whatnot, putting a lot of effort into it. It's rather impressive. Like, like in the books, they keep saying that Robert Baratheon was steel while Stannis was iron. Robert was flexible while Stannis wasn't. I think that was how it went. Basically, they had a thesis arguing that Stannis was actually much more flexible than people gave him credit to be. He was the actual steel. And they had some big long essay to prove it. But someone else, anyway, the relevant one here was this guy was talking about supply lines and whatnot. And it ended up reminding me of the essay. Remember the like steppe nomads in it? I can't remember what they're called. The Dothraki. They favor horses to a like perverse degree, to the point, don't they like kill every other animal they encounter? They don't, like the Mongols, they had herds, they had yaks, they had agriculture, They had, like, there were steppe nomads, but they actually had, like, an agricultural base of some sort. Well, I imagine they had some agriculture. But they did have, animal herds and whatnot, That much I can remember. They did have animal herds. Beyond horses. They did like their horses, but they had other creatures too. The Dothraki, that are based off of them, don't. Someone was making the point that the way the Dothraki of George R. R. Martin are built, when they would raid a settlement, well, none of the settlements would have enough supplies to actually feed the Dothraki. The Dothraki would have had to steal the soil itself. You know how when people starving, they would eat bark off trees? Yeah. the Dothraki are so numerous and they're so retarded with their culture that they would have actually had to outright steal the soil itself to survive. To have something to eat from that settlement. So yeah, him just talking about the supply lines for the Yongo and whatnot. It's important, and it reminds me of another work messing that up to the point of, you know, if they actually followed through on the thing fully, the horsemen having to eat the soil of the villages they attacked to get something in their gut. So, yeah. No, I'm not sure if that's entirely fair. I just remember someone making that argument and it kind of stuck in my head. At least that little bit of it. It's kind of a funny image. Again, if you want to know more about that, look up Radio Westeros. It's on there somewhere. I don't know what episode it would be. Um, you have to check it yourself. At least I presume it's Radio Westeros. There was actually thinking about it. There was a third one I used to listen to, but I don't remember its name. History of Song of Ice and Fire? Was that it? Could be that. Because they did do. They also did like talks and essays on things. But I think I did listen to more Radio Westeros than the others. So. But yeah, between how the numerous Dothraki are depicted and then their culture, the villages they would attack wouldn't be populous enough to like have enough supplies there to actually be profitable for the Dothraki. They wouldn't be able to hit enough, I suppose, and they wouldn't be profitable enough to actually keep them afloat. So much so they would have to be stealing the soil itself to get something in their gut. Kind of an insane image. But yeah. It's something in the back of my head for my own novels. Like I was saying before, that I am trying to write my own thing. You have to keep in mind so much, supply lines, logistics. It is best to keep that stuff vague, so you don't have to like. As someone else was saying, like no matter like you'll never. Fuck. What was the phrasing? Basically, like if you're writing speculative fiction, well, I think they phrase it speculative fiction. It could be fictional at all, fiction at all. To be vague on these kind of details, don't give exact numbers, because no matter how obsessive and up your own ass, a pain in your own ass you are about it, you will never outmatch the most obsessive, fan out there. They will find a flaw in your numbers. So, be vague about it. So, yeah, it's always something in the back of my head of, like, shit I need to keep in mind and keep track of and stuff. Thankfully, what I'm writing, at least so far, it's not relevant, but I'm having my own issues elsewhere. I want the character to do something, and I'm fine with the idea. I'm just not really sure how things are gonna go from there, because it's just like, what would be the reasonable response for the character to respond with? And can I bullshit it out this way or that? I'm not sure.